Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here today for our webinar, What's Important to Tech Leaders in 2024? Scaling Gen AI, Modernizing Code, and Solving the Tech Talent Crunch. I'm Tracy Gardner, the Global Marketing Director at VLink Inc., a US-based IT services and staffing company, and your host for our tech webinar series today. We'll introduce our panelists in just a few minutes, but first let's look at what we're covering in this half-hour webinar. We'll take a look at how industry leaders are driving growth through AI and emerging technologies, aligning tech initiatives with overarching business goals, how to best prioritize modernization efforts, and solving the tech talent crunch in 2024. Our speakers today have been in the technology industry for a very long time. Their knowledge is deep and respected. Jagdish Dalal, a former C-suite executive, has been at the forefront of technology and business innovation for decades at global giants like Xerox and Unisys, and a former partner at PwC. His experience as a former CIO of a Fortune 100 allows him to bring a unique perspective. He has also been invited by over 20 countries to give speeches and hold conferences, and is often a contributor or quoted in the news media by like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and news outlets like CBS. We appreciate you being here, Jag. Sandeep Panchal is an experienced tech exec with a demonstrated history of working in the information technology and services industry, working with big Fortune 500 companies. And Gabe Martinez, a strategist in the tech world, has worked with large Fortune 250 clients, especially in the fintech and healthcare space. And welcome to you all. So glad to have you guys here. I just want to let people know if they have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get to those in just a minute. But we first wanted to get started before we talk to you guys in showing you some poll results we recently conducted on LinkedIn. The poll question that we posed to the public was, what's your tech priority for this year? And the results came in, and we're going to show them to you now. So the tech priority for this year, for 60% of those who answered the survey, modernize data to unlock value. Scale Gen I for new business models at 13%. Cloud engineering, not a popular answer, apparently, 0%. And solve that tech talent crunch came in at second with 27% of those who answered saying that's their tech priority for this year. A lot of people say that as well. So, Jag, I want to get started with you. What do you say about the results? Anything surprise you there?
No, thank you very much for asking me to join you. No, not at all. I think that as the AI and Gen AI make the progress, companies are finding out that their data is not suited for the new technology of AI. They're finding that the data is corrupted, data is incomplete, and that creates a challenge for them in terms of what information it provides through the AI tools. So I'm not surprised at all with modernized data is one of the highest requirement. I'm actually surprised that it's only 60%. I would have thought that it would be almost 90% because there are several things that people have said that what the issue with Gen AI and AI generated tools is the one that data is the biggest issue. Second issue is the people's talent that are necessary in order to create the right kind of inquiry through AI that gives you the real answers they're looking for this problem they're trying to solve. And that's where the talent crunch comes into play. What we're finding is that the talent that's currently present is not completely suited, not completely trained in order to do the future AI-based work. One of the things that I talk about in that forces of change, I call it, what the AI leaders are finding that there are two issues that face them. The first is that they have a huge amount of legacy systems and a legacy platform that they have to deal with. And that includes the data. And that's the data that people are talking about that AI just can't really use it in that form. And the second is the talent, because they have to now balance the talent for the new technology, AI technology, and the future versus the talent needed to maintain the current platform, which is running their current business. And that's a challenge that they have to face. And it becomes an issue that financially, can you do that? And they only have a couple of options at that point in time. The one option they've got is to really train the people. And the second option they got is go outside and get the help that they need in a specific project and specific instant. And let the outside provider be the trainer, let the outside provider be the expert in that field.
Yeah.
That's the challenge
Well,
AI leaders are facing.
and you mentioned so many things. One of the things I wanted to ask real quick, Jag, talking about those tools, and one of the AI tools is, of course, ChatGPT. We've all heard of it. How would you say technology is simultaneously driving and disrupting the world today?
Well, and that's an interesting question. Simply because technology is moving at a speed faster than you can catch up with it. So whether it's a Chat GPT, whether it's there are several tools out there. Perplexity is another one. Gemini is another one. And the challenge is that it is evolving on a daily basis. And that's a different type of challenge we face. We've had the industrial revolutions in the past. The opportunity then was that it happened over a longer period of time, allowing businesses to adjust and become comfortable with whatever the new technology that revolution brought. We're in a stage now in the technology where the speed is such that by the time you catch up to one, there's a new thing out there.
Breakneck speed, Jag. It's scary sometimes. I mean, it really is. And one of the concerns I think many people have in conversations I have with people, and by the way, we'll get to Sandeep and Gabe in just a second. Feel free to jump in, guys, as we're just having a conversation here. But is the ethical implications of all of this, of the Gen AI tools, the tools that we're seeing develop at a rapid speed?
Yeah, and again, it's the same thing. Technology is moving at such a rapid pace that the laws and the regulations are not catching up. By the time they catch up to something, the technology has already moved on to the next generation. And we're going to face the fact that it's going to create challenges going forward, that if somebody has misused or has used the tool to do negative things by today's standard, it may not be the same in the future standard.
Yeah,
And that's the challenge. So as we have seen, that the corporations now are establishing chief information security officer, and those are now at the highest level, and they have a tough job to do, because they are trying to instill security when there are tools out there like the Chat GPT and the AI based tools, which kind of go around it easily. And
They
that's
can
that's the
fool
issue.
them. Yeah, and that's the scary thing. And we talk about Chat GPT, generative AI, of course, be the top technology trend in 2024, priority for CIOs. And Jag, you've spoken about prioritizing. Let's look at some of the facts with PwC. You were a former partner there, which came out recently. I wanted to show those because I think they're interesting. 47% of CIOs are prioritizing the transformation of their data forms to drive business growth. 78% of CIOs in 2024 and other executives have adopted cloud, yet more than half have not realized their desired outcomes. That's pretty interesting. And 60% of CIOs say the IT function is completely prepared to support a new business model, but only 48% feel prepared to support these efforts. 84% of CIOs say they expect to use Gen AI to support a new business model. I think that's good news and bad news. We'll talk about that. And 50% of survey respondents agreed that their emerging tech strategy is integrated within the company's business strategy. So I just wanted to share that real quick. And the C-suite does face challenges these days, especially in IT, and navigating that rapidly changing business landscape we were talking about, where emerging technologies and evolving market demands often outpace the availability of skilled professionals. Let's bring in Sandeep Panchal real quick. Sandeep, you've worked with Fortune 500s across many industries. I know you talk to them daily, probably. What are you learning from these corporations in regard to how tech is shaping their future, especially when it comes to hiring tech talent?
Sure, Tracy, good to be here. I think I have agreed uh, many points, good points Jag has brought in. I think based on our conversation with many of these companies, right, the biggest challenge with this rapid changing emerging technologies is really which platform to adopt, right? Identifying and selecting the right tool and platform is the key challenge that organizations are facing, because as Jag mentioned about legacy data, I mean, they all want to have a cloud migration to a different cloud platform, but choosing the right platform, they are spending a lot of time and money. So there are AWS, Google Cloud or Azure, So I think having the right, choices with these
Mm,
tools based on scalability, based on integration capabilities, because it has to be integrated with their existing system, and also long-term viable perspective, because as Jake mentioned, everything is changing. By the time we try to learn newer technology, there is something else is coming. So I think it's a very key challenging where organization is spending a lot of time and investment behind those selection of those platform. And once you have this platform, implementation is the key. And you have to have a right project management practice or process, making sure that your current environment is pretty much aligned with everything, and also talent.
mhm.
You have to enable your own in-house staff. You have to implement a lot of these strategies to make sure that they understand this technology and also use in their day-to-day life. But it's not easy, and that's why a lot of these organizations partner with external vendor like ourselves in a staff
Mhm.
augmentation perspective, or maybe implement the full project or in these emerging technologies. So it's a real challenge between the
Yeah.
selection of the right platform and also training your talent acquisition at the all same time.
It is. It's so
Yeah,
true, Sandeep. Upskilling,
yeah,
reskilling is really
yep,
important,
yep.
on both points. Gabe, let's bring you in real quick. You've worked with Fortune 250s like Sandeep, and especially in fintech and healthcare, and helping to modernize some of their tech stacks. Do you see this as a trend for bigger corporations as they deal with mounting, we call it tech debt, from outdated
Hmm.
software, legacy software, like Jag mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah, definitely, Tracy. And first of all, so glad to be here. When you first called and shared the topic for today's conversation, I thought, modernizing code, legacy tech. It was a kind of a why moment, right? I mean, this month alone, Boston Dynamics unveiled their new Terminator-like robot. Flying cars are a thing again. AI is
Yeah.
developing beyond an exponential rate. And my 3-year-old son is waking up in the middle of the night, and it's driving me a little crazy. So, any one of
Too
those
bad we didn't have
topics,
something for that, right? A
right?
robot.
Any one of those topics I thought would have been a more feasible option. But then I got some sleep. And you know what, Tracy? When I get to snoozing and my brain gets to moving, everything works out for the better. So I'm no longer sleeping on the couch. That's a win, right? And I don't think I'll pass out in the middle of this webinar after record-breaking 6 hours of sleep. So that's another win. So anyway, your question. It reminded me of a thing that a friend of mine used to say. He said, big tech is being held up by thoughts, prayers, and duct tape, which I think
Hmm,
resonates here, right? Because
yeah.
while we may be experiencing a tech renaissance, everyone is still holding it all up with duct tape. Legacy technology is still a major factor in every leader's decision tree, and very well should be. But here's a great, fear mongering, if I should say, right? A fear mongering example for you from a company that should have been a client of mine, honestly, which would have saved them millions had they just secured their legacy tech. So imagine just last year, this particularly large health insurance provider had 78.8 million private records compromised. This was a breach that'll cost them well over $100 million. And all they had to do was upgrade their security tech. Now, on a smaller scale, most companies are just having inefficiency issues with data, employee management, marketing, sales, and the day-to-day stuff, right? But from a bird's eye view, this productivity time lost on outdated
Wow.
tech is a $1.8 trillion issue. And it's all beyond the security stuff. That hole will only get bigger with the emergence of AI. Now, not
Right.
that AI is the problem, right? But rather lacking in resources or strategy to mitigate the challenges that legacy tech presents is and will continue to be difficult for both small and large companies. And I think it'll have sort of a Darwinian effect on the world at large, for better or for worse.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
before anything, I say to everyone, jump on the moving train before it moves too fast to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what you said, Sandeep or Jag. Do you have anything to say? Are we being held up by duct tape when it comes to AI? I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing that his friend was saying.
I think that's an excellent point that Gabe made, and I completely agree that the legacy environment is the duct tape that they're but they can't remove the duct tape because it's running through his business.
Yep.
What companies have done, which is not good, is they're painted the duct tape. So it looks like it's different, looks like it's new,
Shiny.
and the underneath is exactly the same thing. And I always make the comment that when we see a transaction in the old-fashioned companies, in their old-fashioned platform, the results are not the same as new companies who built the new platform using new technology and without the duct tape. And that's the challenge. And as Gabe said, it's $1 trillion challenge for the AI leader, for the IT leaders, as to what do you do with that? You're not going to have the extra budget in order to deal with it, which means that they have to find a way to prioritize and at the same time find another way to solve the problem. And one of them is really looking to the outside expertise to help them out.
Yeah, so true. So true. Let's pause here quickly because I think it's a great discussion. And just we're going to show you another poll real quick that we did on LinkedIn. I wanted to show you those results and ask you guys some questions about that. What are the biggest challenges you face in aligning tech initiatives, exactly what we've been talking about, with business goals? Limited budget, as you said, Jag, that's a big problem. Resources to devote to future plans, 50% of poll respondents said, yep, that's what my biggest challenge is. They need to acquire required technical skills, 14%. That one kind of surprises me. I would have thought it would have been more than that. Resistance to change, IT staff and business customers, 14%. And of course, difficulty in planning for the future change drivers, 23%. Any of you have any thoughts on the poll?
I think the lack of technical skills is a misleading thing there, simply because it's which technical skill they lack. Is it the new, or is it maintaining the trillions of dollars of current platform? So that's the one thing that kind of got to me. And the second thing, the resistance to change, is the population is aging. And you have to now teach, if you will, an old dog a new trick. And that's not as easy as people are finding. And for that, you need more budget, and limited budget, therefore, becomes a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandeep, any thoughts on this with the people you deal with? Does this seem to kind of fall in line, or does it kind of surprise you?
No, it is falling in line, and especially lack of technical skills, and obviously because of the adoption of this technology requires a lot of investment. Companies have limited budget, so there are two key areas that I would certainly agree with this poll. But as Jag mentioned, while adopting this technology, if companies will not make the investment, they will be fall behind, in the industry as well as in their business growth. I always give an example of, IBM Intel chips versus NVIDIA. I mean, both have been in the same industry, but Intel used to be an industry leader, and with newer adoption of technology, we all know where NVIDIA stands and where Intel stands. So I think doing the right investment in really training your employees and talent and use of external vendors, companies like us, would certainly help organization, in a quick adoption of the technologies, Tracy.
Good. Very good point. And I think, Gabe, that brings up, Sandy keeps mentioning companies like us. Talk about what a company like VLink could offer, these companies that are struggling with technical debt, struggling with updating legacy software, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Not to shamelessly plug our own company, but yeah, look, they can, these companies can really easily work with a company like ours to navigate the challenges of talent sourcing, right? Companies like VLink do the legwork for you. So really there's no excuse, right, for CIOs to find themselves lagging in the talent space. Finding the right tech people for the job isn't really a matter of knowing exactly what you need at the moment. It's a matter of consulting with the right people to point you in the right direction, because tech talent is abundant. Right? You just need a company like VLink, right? Again, the shameless plug, to solve those problems for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And there's so many things that we offer, but like you said, the shameless plug, and that's not really what the webinar is about today. I want to go back to Jag real quick. We can leave the slide up there, but how do, Jeg, I think the really basis of this whole thing is you've been a CIO, former CIO. How do they address the challenge? What's the best way to prioritize the initiatives within the with the company's overarching business goals? Always a challenge for you guys.
Yeah, it always is a challenge, and that's not going to change because the new technology is kind of forcing that challenge to be even tougher. Because by the time you make the decision, it's hardly moved on to the next.
Yeah.
That's why I was not surprised at all to see that cloud computing is not as profitable or is beneficial to a company. And the reason is that cloud platform hosts the applications which are legacy applications. And so they have not caught up to the new way of doing things on the cloud. So I can completely see that 48% said that they're not getting the benefit out of the cloud. Doesn't surprise me. So what they have to do now is create minor, small lane where they're going to move to the new platform, where they're going to apply the new technology, and then create the new environment at the same time maintaining the old and then replacing the old. Not a simple issue, not a short-term issue, but it's a tough issue to deal with right now. And that's the only way you're going to be able to manage it.
Absolutely. And I know we're just about out of time. Just wanted to know if Sandeep or Gabe or Jag, you have any additional thoughts on the subject of prioritizing those agendas. It's like anything else. There's tough decisions to be made, but please weigh in, any one of you. We have a few minutes left. So
I think speed matters.
Yeah.
It's about making the decision in timely manner so that you're not falling behind. Don't take too long to evaluate things. Don't take too long. Depend on the outside expertise to guide you to get there, because they are more current. They have less legacy to deal with, and therefore there's a better opportunity to invite the outsider to help you in your move. Resistance to change is the issue. And that resistance to change comes from not just the fear of change, but also managing the priority. These are conflicting priorities. And how do you manage that?
How do you manage that? That's the question. Any last thoughts, Gabe, Sandeep?
Right. Like we said, don't let the train get ahead of you, right? Once that train has left the station, right, it's moving and it's not stopping, right? So it's kind of up to these leaders, whether it be CIOs, CTOs, CISOs, and so on, right? CEOs, etc. It's up to them to find that train, jump on as soon as possible, and make the right decision once they're on the train, right? Because you can still easily fall off. It's crucial that they know exactly what they're doing, and then consulting with, an organization like our own to kind of get the right strategy in place. Which kind of leads me to the final thought here, right? If you can, Tracy, just put up that slide again with what VLink does, just so I can kind of connect the dots here, if you may.
Sure. There we go. We're getting it up there. Just
Great.
Bear with us for a second. There we go.
Perfect. I think we all see it. So again, not to, I guess, to shamelessly plug us in again, but VLink has so many things to offer, right? We have cost-effective resourcing, global centers of excellence, 48-hour turnaround time, not to mention the very best, specifically top 3% talent pool. But VLink has everything a company of any size needs to stay ahead of the tech talent crunch. So if you need people, talent, in emerging tech, we have it. If you need consulting and around emerging tech, we can do it. And if you need us to literally plan, build, and execute your legacy tech update, we can do it all for you. But here's the kicker, right? And more so what I'm more passionate about and what VLink does that I feel stands out from the rest is we hold your hand, right? Which is a lot because I already have kids. I don't necessarily want to hold everyone's hand, but I think all jokes aside, we really care. And at VLink, we walk with, alongside, and through the fire with our clients, making their success our own. And it's with that level of trust and transparency that we deliver every single time without fail. It's kind of the VLink way, and it's why we win.
Yep. Any last thoughts, Sandeep? Excellent. I totally agree, Gabe.
I would say just be NVIDIA. I mean, adopt the newer technology and keep growing. Don't leave behind, in adopting these newer technologies. So that's the message, Tracy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jag, any last thoughts? We're about ready to wrap it.
No, I think that this is a tough topic that people have to really face up to it. And as Gabe said, the train is moving and better pick up the speed. Don't be afraid of change and try things that you've never tried before, maybe.
Yeah. Well
Right.
said, gentlemen. Thanks so much for being here. You guys have been great panelists, great discussion. Thanks for you all for being here. We'll see you at the next Tech webinar series. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.